Hey y'all, here I am just filming a little vlog. I was just looking for my Generation 3 Claudine doll, the like first wave release or whatever, and I found my Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi doll. I can't remember which one she is, I don't remember her name, but she was one of my first eBay purchases ever, all the way back in like 2018, when I had gotten like my first job and stuff. She was very cheap, I got her new in box, and I honestly didn't like know much about these artists. I knew that they sang the theme song for the Teen Titans back then, and that they had their own animated TV show on Cartoon Network, but other than that I didn't know much of them. And this doll was pretty inexpensive too. I think I paid less than like $45 for her, which is crazy because I've seen her go for much more now. But yeah, I'm really happy to find this doll in storage. I remember I saw Dolls to Remember post a review on like either her or the other character, or I think it was both of them, but really happy to have found this one just because she's like so rare now, and I really love this fashion, honestly. She's not working because I don't have new batteries in her, but so happy to find this doll. I recently found a listing of like a playset, like boutique shop playset on like eBay or whatever for these dolls, and it was kind of cheap, so I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not, but I don't know, having this doll out in my hand is kind of making me want to get it. But yeah, I just love the J fashion of these dolls, specifically her little varsity jacket, this hat with the little attached braids, it's kind of funky, and that face is to die for. She's got a really cute detailed outfit too, this is insane. Here I've also got my Drive Me Crazy Britney Spears doll. She was improperly stored in like an attic, and you know, I do need to wash her, but I'm very happy to own this doll because this is one of my favorite Britney Spears music videos and one of my favorite outfits of hers. I did get her attached to the card like on eBay and stuff like that. She was a new in box, but you know, she was still attached and everything and like came with all of her stuff, so she really just needs like a wash, and her outfit just needs to be de-stained and stuff like that. Really happy to own this one too as well. I'm kind of just like going through a bunch of dolls right now and trying to look for ones that I haven't seen in a while, just because, you know, I really want to see them again and also go through my things. But yeah, I love Britney Spears dolls. I really wish I had more of them. I only have two of them. I have this one, and then I have the one that was sold in like a black outfit with like a music CD keychain. She only wore that outfit at like a mall like performance, so yeah. Here we've got Britney's dress all clean. I'm actually really happy that I was able to get out those stains. Those really troublesome, disgusting stains, but now the garment is really clean at least, and it's gonna shine and look really nice on her. Can't wait to display my Britney doll. I also forgot to mention that when I got her on eBay, she was so cheap because the seller thought that because of this bee on her little pocket that she was just a regular generic like waitress Barbie or something. And I was able to get her for below $10, thankfully, including shipping. It was honestly perfect, so yeah. You guys really gotta be like paying attention to those listings, especially for some of these Britney dolls, because they could be mislabeled as like generic Barbies or whatever. Also, for a lot of the sellers who recognize what they have on eBay, a lot of these Britney Spears dolls go for like, you know, cheapest, like maybe $19 or like $15, like out of box without their outfits and stuff like that, or original accessories. A lot of the Britney dolls' faces and like hairstyles kind of have like the same ones, and like they kind of just repeated the same face with like whatever generic hairstyle and like generic accessories they could put after a bit. But yeah, I'm happy to at least own this one because this is one of my favorite music videos of her. I just picked up this really cute Calico Sitters set from Walgreens. It was $10.35 in total. I honestly didn't expect to find this there in like the toy section. I saw the LOL OMG Tweens mermaids and the basic budget Rainbow High like Georgia Bloom, and like some regular ass generic Barbie. And this was like the last thing there. It was like the only cute thing, honestly, in that aisle. So glad I found it though. I literally fucking hate Mondays, but this was literally the funnest thing to happen today, honestly. I'm gonna be reviewing it in like a separate video probably. And right now I don't have the heart to unbox it just because she looks so goddamn adorable in there. I can't. It's crazy for me to think that I've been collecting for about like 9 or 10 years at this point, because it's about like, you know, one of the many consistent things that like I've been really into and very passionate about and very just like, you know, obsessed with and stuff. Just because when I was younger, as I've stated before, I wasn't allowed to have dolls or feminine things, and then, you know, after I kind of turned 13, I was really just tired of doing what everybody like told me and expected of me, and I really just wanted to experiment with anything, you know, just to find my own personal identity, and dolls was really what kind of like, you know, shaped me to be kind of the person that I am and stuff like that. They definitely taught me about like fashion and like how to carry myself and like, I guess, appear more put together sometimes and stuff like that. And, you know, especially once I got my first job and like first debit card and stuff like that and could make my own online purchases, the hobby just became a lot more fun. Because I got into collecting around 2016 when there weren't really any good doll lines out, you know. I mean, I was very excited and happy to see that like Barbie Fashionistas had recently released the curvy body type. And, you know, that was nice that at least, you know, I could experience the curvier dolls coming out when I was still young and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I kind of really just clung to vintage dolls and like looking at everybody else's vintage collections on YouTube and stuff like that. And I'm just really happy to have like a collection of my own now that I really adore and really love spending time and energy on. It's the best thing that I could have done for myself and for like, you know, my mental health and stuff like that. And it's really nice that I've been like doing it consistently for like, you know, almost a decade or a decade at this point, you know. And yeah, I don't exactly plan on stopping my collecting, although I do plan on downsizing whenever I need to. Just because I haven't really ever gone through like a huge like downsizing of my collection or like really gone through all of the dolls that I have and stuff like that. I haven't ever set out time to do that, but I think I really should and stuff like that, just because I've been collecting since I was 13 years old. And you know, I kind of just started collecting anything and everything because I didn't have dolls when I was younger, and now that I have more of a vision of what I want in my collection, it's just way easy for me to let go of certain things. You know, growing up in the late 2000s and then seeing the rise of all of this like social media bullshit, it was very, very nice to have my dolls to kind of keep me like grounded and like just a little bit more like innocent or whatever, I guess. Just because, you know, when I was like in middle school, like around like 2016-ish or whatever, you know, there was like Musical.ly and we had like other forms of like social media and stuff like that, and everybody was still going on social media constantly and wanting to post, but it was never to the level of like how it is now with like the Gen Alpha kids, because I feel like they can't really like have a chance to be kids, unfortunately. And you know, I'm glad I really got into collecting when I was 13 and finally like ripped that band-aid off, because it was one of the nicest things to be into in like a world full of like, oh, you're too young to be into this, or blah blah blah, or oh, you guys are looking up to everybody who is too old for you, why are you doing this, why are you trying to emulate that, you know, why do you want to look like this or whatever, or oh, why do you have all of these issues didn't exist when we were younger or whatever. It's just, you know, a whole bunch of bullshit that goes with growing up and coming of age, you know. And growing up in the late 2000s and whatnot, and being in middle school, like before the rise of like TikTok and stuff like that, you know, really does affect you. But I'm glad that I had my dolls to get me through that and stuff, because, you know, if I didn't have that like really strong passion or hobby to like ground me, I don't know where I would have ended up, you know. And I really hope that this generation of like younger kids can like really break free of those like social media ties and like all of that vanity bullshit, you know, because everybody wants likes and followers these days, but nobody wants to have any friends and nobody wants to be seen as cringe or whatever the fuck, so really happy about my dollies. I think that with everything going on with like the state of the world and like, you know, the state of like these companies and these like big corporations and politics and stuff like that, I really do want to get more into like secondhand collecting and shopping at places like, you know, eBay or like Mercari or wherever else I can get secondhand dolls, especially like thrift stores or wherever the hell, because, you know, we've seen time and time again that none of these companies give a crap about the consumers, especially not the adult doll collectors, really, or anybody for that matter, you know. They're just trying to turn a profit, they're just trying to sell us something. You know, these days, a lot of companies are just trying to sell us like low quality garbage, you know, and I think it's just time for me to start collecting the dolls from like just a better era of quality, because I love how diverse the dolls are and like represent more people, but I just think that I need to focus more on like the vintage stuff, if you get what I mean. You know, I think I do collect a pretty good mix of like vintage and like new in store. But the thing about that sometimes is that like, you know, the vintage fashions that will be really good and high quality are not gonna fit, you know, the curvier dolls or any of the dolls with like thicker body proportions and stuff like that. So that's the only problem that like I run into with the vintage dolls as well, because a lot of the vintage dolls are just, you know, very, very skinny and very, very limited when it comes to like representation, like physical like representation and like body diversity and, you know, even hair texture diversity and stuff like that. So I kind of just try to strike the balance between vintage and like new in store collecting, but you know, there's something about those vintage dolls, obviously they're just so charming and they're just so full of like quality and stuff like that. It's just really hard to be a doll collector sometimes when you know that certain companies can give you better quality, but they're just not trying to. So now you have to resort to other means to like, you know, either dress your dolls or like get them or whatever the hell, you know. Hope you guys liked the video. Stay tuned for my little Calico Critters unboxing / review. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye y'all.